Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to the second part of this video series, developing a simple movie application using Kotlin Multiplatform Mobile. So in today's episode, we're going to implement the Android side of our movie application. And if this is the first time you join us, there is a first part and you need to check that out because that will be crucial for the rest of our video series. I will leave the link in the video description, so go check that out, and after that you can come and watch this. Okay, so to get things started quickly, you need to add these few things. First of all, inside our Android app b.gradle.kts file, you will need to add these four dependencies. The Koin Android X Compose. This will help us inject view models into composables. The coil will be for image loading. This Google accompanies to control the system UI. And lastly, the navigation. Compose. After you add that, you need to click sync. The second thing that you'll need to add if you want to, this is not mandatory, is this play button here under resources and drawable. We will need this inside our home screen. Lastly, you will need to change a couple of things here in my application theme. As you can see, you will need these 5 colors to change the dark appearance of our application. You also need to change these dark colors composable. And lastly, I have also forced the dark theme by setting this dark theme boolean to always be true, by default, and I will not change that. So after that, let me close this and we can get started. So the first thing we'll need is to build this home screen over here. Let's get started. I'll come up here inside my Android package and I'll create one package. I'll name this home. So inside this home, I'm going to create 2 files actually. First of all is the home screen. I'll select file. And the second one will be HomeViewModel. I will also select file. Let's first of all implement this HomeViewModel. So for that, I will first of all need a UI state class that I will create down below here. This will be a data class. I will name this HomeScreen state. So this will contain first of all a var for the loading, whether we are loading data or not. And we will need also a refreshing var. So this will help us for the refresh mechanism. Let me show you that. So we're going to implement this refresh mechanism. We will need a list of movies. A list of. We will need an error message. So whenever things go wrong, and I will also add here another var, which will be load finished. Since we are going to implement pagination, I would like to know whether we can still load more items or not. Now, above this data class, I'm going to create my ViewModel class. This will take a get movies use case, where is it? Yeah, this one, and extends ViewModel. So first of all, I will declare here our UI state of term by mutable state of. I will use here our home screen state, like so. You need to import twice. And I will need also here a variable to keep track of the current page of data. Private var current page. I will initialize this to 1, since in the movie database org they always return. They always start with 1 as the first page. So the next thing is to create a function here to load our movies. I will name this load movies. Now this need a parameter. I will call this force reload. This will be, for example, true when the user triggers this swipe refresh action. So in here, inside our load movies, I will first of all check if we are already loading or making a request. And in that case, I don't want to proceed. I will just return from the function. If UI state loading, then I need to return. I will also check here if user triggers the swipe refresh action. I will need to reset the current page to 1. Lastly, I will check here if the current page equals 1. So then I will need to inform the UI like we are actually refreshing, because what I would like to do is when we enter, first of all, to show that swipe refresh indicator, as well as when the user triggers the swipe refresh action. So I will say here, if current page equals 1, then the UI state will be equal to UI state. Now copy, and we'll set the refreshing to true. All right. Now here to call, we'll need first of all to call our get movies use case to return a page of movies. And for that, since it will be a suspend function, I will call that inside a new coroutine that I will launch from the ViewModel scope dot launch. So in here, I will first of all need to inform the UI that we are loading So after that, I will need to call val result movie to get a page of movies, call the get movies use case, passing the page as the current page. And since this method can throw exception, I will need to surround that with a try catch block. Try catch. I will not show any custom error, so I will try to catch everything that could be shown could be thrown. Yes, and I will need to change the UI state as, first of all, we're not loading anymore. Loading is false. We are not refreshing. And if there was an error, I would like also to stop the pagination, so I will set the load finished to true. And then lastly, set the error message as could not load movies, and I will have here the error dot localized message, yeah, just like so. And inside my try block, I will need to call this get movies use case to get a page of movies. After we get that page, I will declare here eval movies. So I will check if current page equals 1, then I need to set it to the result page, as I will need to append to what we have already, movies plus movies. plus result movies. I will increment the current page by 1 and then change the UI state. Copy. Loading equals false, refreshing false. And for the load finished, I'll check if the result page is empty. And lastly, movies, I will set it to movies. Alright, so I think that's almost all. Now we need to call this in our init. I will call load movies force reload equals to false. Alright guys, now we need to come back in our home screen. So from here I'll create a composable. I'll name this HomeScreen. This need a modifier. We'll set a default modifier. Let me close this. Get a little bit of room there. So it also need a UI state of home screen state. This will take a function to load more movies or next movies. I'll call this load next movies. This will be a function that need a boolean, whether this is a swipe refresh or not. Yeah, the name might not be convenient like for the swipe refresh action, but yeah, we'll still use the same method for loading next movies as well as when the user triggers the swipe refresh action. So this will also need a function for navigating to DetailScreen, navigate to detail. This will take a movie. Oops. And doesn't return anything as well. Now, let me show you. We first of all need this movie list item, and we create a composable for that. So this movie list item will contain a card to wrap everything, and inside that card we will have a column that will contain a box for the image and display button, and another column that will contain the title and the release date. I'm going to create a new file inside our own package. I will name that MovieListItem. Select file. This will be a composable, and it needs a modifier. Type modifier. It will take a movie from for model class, and it needs one function here, and that is on movie click. Like so. Let me create a little bit of room here. So inside our movie list item, we first of all need a card for the card view, and we will set the height to be 220 dp. Import dp, make this clickable, and call the on movie click and pass the movie. I will set the shape to be rounded corner shape with 8 dp of corner size. Now inside our card we'll need a column. Inside this column we need a box for the image and the play button, the play icon. I will need to set it with a modifier of weight 1 so that it takes up the remaining space after the title and the release date. Oops. I will need also a content alignment to be alignment.center. Now inside my box, I need an image, so I will call the async image. For the model, I will call it movie.imageURL. The content description will be null. Yeah. So content scale, I will use the crop, and also need a modifier here, fill max size, and let's add a clip for the bottom of the image. Rounded corner shape, I will set the bottom start 2dp, and for the bottom hand also 2dp. So below my image, I need a surface. Let me turn this off. Alright, I'll need a surface, and the color of the surface will be black with 60% of transparency. I will need a black color. Copy. Transparency, I'll set it to 60%. We need a modifier to set the size to be 50 dp, and the clip to be circle shape, and the padding to set 12 dp of inset. And inside my surface, I need an image, so we use the painter. Let me put argument into separate lines. I call here painter resource R. I need the one from my package, so let me look that up. This one, drawable, play button. The content description, I'll set it to null. I need a modifier here. Sorry. Modifier.align to be center, like so. So that's all for the image and the play icon. Let me close the box. And below that box, we need a column with modifier, padding of 10 dp. Now inside this column, we need a title. I call movie.title, and I will set the style to be material theme.typography.subtitle1. Let me put argument into separate line. I'll need to change the font weight. Bold. Set max lines to be 1, and overflow to use text overflow ellipsis. Below this text, I need a spacer. Height 4 dp. This is between the title and the release dates. And below that, I need another text for the release date. The style, I will use material theme.style .typography.caption, like so. Yeah, I think that's all for our movie list item. Now I'll come back here inside my home screen. and I will wrap this lazy vertical grid inside the box. First of all, we need a box here. We'll set it to have a modifier, take up the entire space, fill max size. So we'll need also to set the background to be color material background colors dot not surface but background. Now I need to have the swipe refresh functionality, as you can see here, this one. And since Compose 1.3, this is how you can do it. We first of all need a pull refresh state. I'll declare that here, pull refresh state. Use the remember pull refresh state, and for the refreshing I will use my UI state.refreshing, and for the on refresh I will call here the load next movies and set this to true, so that we will inform the view model that this was a forced reload when we call the view model load next movies. So since this is an experimental API, you need to add this opt-in experimental, and for our box modifier you need to add pull refresh, set the state to pull refresh state that we have created. Alright, now inside my box I'll create here a lazy vertical grid. For the columns I will use grid styles.fixed, use 2, and let me put argument to separate line. We don't need this content for now. Let me set the content padding to be padding value, set 16 dp, import dp. So this will set the outer padding, and this also allows us that when we scroll it doesn't crop the items to the padding, to the 16 padding that we just set here. So you need to add this instead of the modifier padding. We also need to have spaces between items, like in the horizontal direction and also in the vertical direction. And for that we need horizontal arrangement, set the arrangement spaced by 16 dp as well. Vertical arrangement, the same thing, spaced by 16 dp. After that you open the lazy grid scope. Now here we need to call items indexed, pass the UI state.movies, and I will also pass a unique key for optimization, and I will use my movie ID, like so. Then open curly braces. We need to get the index on the movie. Now inside these items indexed I will call MovieListItem, pass the movie, and for the on movie click we will navigate to details and pass the movie. Now let me bring my phone here. As you can see, we'd like to add this load more functionality. Don't know why this is loading so quickly. Let me come back here quickly. Oops, as you can see, there's also a circular progress indicator when loading more items. First of all, for our pagination, I will check if the index is greater or equal to UI state.movies.size -1, and I want to make sure that we are not already making a request, and also make sure that we can still load more item by checking if the load finished is now equal to true. Yeah. So inside this, I will need to call load next movies, and since that's not related to composable, we can make that inside our launched effect, pass unit for the key, and inside here we'll call load next movies and pass false, since this is not a swipe refresh action. Alright, so now I'll close these items indexed, and to add our circular progress indicator at the bottom when loading next movies, I need first of all to check if the UI state is in loading state, and to make sure that this is not the first load, I will also check if the UI state.movies is not empty. Oops. Then I need an item. I would like to change the span to use the entire width. So in here I will call read item span and set the count to 2. Now for my item, I will just create a row that contains a circular progress indicator. This row will have a modifier of modifier fill max width, had a padding of 16 dp. We'll need to set the horizontal arrangement to be arrangement.center, and for the vertical alignment we need to center vertically. Now inside this row I'll need a circular progress indicator, for which I just changed the color to use the red color in my material team, my application team class. Alright, so now outside our lazy vertical grid, I would like to have the pull refresh indicator. For that, I need to call a pull refresh indicator. For the refreshing, we use the UI state.refreshing. For the states, use the pull refresh state. Let me put argument on separate lines. I'll need here a modifier. This one. Alignment. Top center, like so. Alright, so that's all for our home screen, but as you can see here, we have a couple of common things here. We need the top app bar, which will be also the same for our view model, in which we are updating the title depending on the current screen. So for that, I will need to create a package that will contain all the common stuff here. So I'll come up here, close the home screen, and create a new package. I'll name this common. Inside this common, I want to create a new Kotlin class file, and I will name this movie AppBar. I need to create one more file. and I will name this destinations. Now inside this destinations file, I will first of all create an interface that represents a movie destination. We'll call this destination like so. So each destination will have a title or type string. It will have a route string as well, and route with args of type string. Now you will see why we actually need like a route and a route with args when actually creating the detail screen. So in here I'll create a first destination. This will be an object, call this home, and it implement a destination interface, and here define the title to be movies. The route, let me this will be home. So let me have a little bit of room. We have the route with args. So this will be, we just use our route, since for the home destination we don't need to pass any argument. I'll create a second destination. I'll name that detail. For the title, I'll set this to movie details. For the route, set this to movie. Feel free to use string resources, but here I'm going to keep things simple and use directly hard-coded strings. For the route with args, and we will need our routes and a string placeholder for the movie ID. This represents the argument string placeholder. Since this detail will need an argument, the movie ID, I need to define here a variable called argument. Argument will be a list of nav argument. The name will be movie ID for this argument. The type will be nav type.int type. So I will need to keep track of the list of all our destinations. This will help us, like for the movie app bar, display the current destination title. We'll need to find which destination is currently on the screen. So I'll need a val here, movie destination. This will be a list of home detail, and probably in your app you will have more destinations. Feel free to add them here. So here I need to come in movie app bar. We'll need a composable. I'll name this movie app bar. Let me add the room. This movie app bar will first of all need a modifier. Modifier from Compose UI. It also needs a boolean, can navigate back. This will help us like to show or not the arrow back. It will need current screen, which will be of type movie destination. What was the name here? Destination. And it will need a function on navigate tab. So whenever the user clicks on the back arrow, so on navigate back, it will be a function. Yeah, like so. Alright, so here we'll need a surface, and the surface will take a modifier, fill max width, and set the height to be 56 dp, import dp. We'll need an elevation of 4 dp. And lastly, we'll set the color to use material theme.colors.primary. So inside our surface, we'll need a row with modifier, and add a start padding of 8 dp. This will be by default combined to the inner padding of our title, so that whenever the icon is not displayed, we still have a reasonable space here, distance between the left side and the title. And this also will have an end. We don't need to set that. So here I will set the vertical alignment to be centered vertically for our icon, and text to be centered vertically. Alright, so as you might have noticed, I'm having here an animation when the icon need to appear. So for that, I will say I will call here animated visibility. So visible when we can navigate back. And what I want to animate is icon button. For the on click, we'll take the on navigate back. We need to call here an icon, not icon button, just icon. Yes. For image vector, we call icons.field.arrowback. Content description null. Put argument on separate line. So I'll need to add here the tint to be material colors on background. I also need here when this icon appears to add a spacer with 24 dp. This makes sure that when the icon appears, we have a little bit more room between the icon and the title. Now below this animated visibility, I need a text for the title. I'll set the text to be current screen.title. The style I'll use material theme.typography.h6. We need a modifier. Set some insets. Together this with this start here. If the icon is not visible, it will make like 20 dp from the left side. We need here to set the color to use material theme.colors not on surface. All right, so I think that's all for our movie app bar. Let me close this. Now the next thing I would like to do here is to create a movie app which will have a composable. We would like to set up the navigation. All right, now I'll close this common and create a new Kotlin class file. I will name this movie app. This will be like the entry point to our screen. So this will be a composable movie app. To set up the navigation, we first of all need to retrieve a nav controller for our nav graph. So I'll use the remember nav controller. I'll also need a val system UI controller. We have to remember system UI controller. This will help us change the status bar. Let me add a little bit more room here. First of all, for our status bar, we'd like to check if is system dark. Is system dark? Since this cannot code, this is a composable, so we can't call that when setting up the dark icons. You'll see that in a second because that will not be inside a composable. So in here we will set the status bar color, check if is system dark, then use material theme dot colors dot primary variant, else use the transparent color. Down we need a side effect to when the composition completes to set the status bar color, and for that we call the system UI controller dot set status bar color, and for dark icons is when the system isn't in dark. So we could not call like this here since we are not in a composable. Alright, so below this, the next configuration, I would like to set the current screen, and for that I first of all need a backstack entry that I retrieve using my nav controller. Backstack entry by nav controller dot current backstack entry as state. You need to import that, and down here I will declare a current screen val which will equal to movie destinations, so the list that we created earlier, and we need to find the current destination, and to find that we need the backstack entry. Check the destination, the route, if that equals to it, and route, or if backstack entry destination dot route equals to it not route with args. If none, then just set the default to be home. We'll need now to create our scaffold that will wrap our application. For that, I'll need here to get a scaffold state with remember scaffold state. Come down here, call the scaffold state. Scaffold state, we call our scaffold state. For the top app bar, there we need to call our movie app bar. So to check whether we can navigate up, we'll use our nav controller dot previous backstack entry. Check if that isn't null. For the current screen, call current screen, and for the unnavigate back, we'll need to call nav controller dot navigate up. Get the inner paddings, and here we'll now set our nav host with nav controller. We need a modifier. Oops, we don't have this. Need our modifier from system UI padding to get the not that inner paddings. Let me put argument on separate lines. For the start destination, we use home dot route with args, open curly braces, and call our composable home for the route or home dot route with args. And let me plug in here my power supply. Alright, so before we call our home screen, we need to get an instance of our view model. I'll name this HomeViewModel. I'll type HomeViewModel, KoinViewModel, and from here we'll need our home screen. For the UI state, we use HomeViewModel UI state. So for the load next, let me come up here. We will use our HomeViewModel dot load movies. Force reload would be the boolean that we receive here. And for the navigate to detail, for now we don't do anything since we don't have our detail screen yet. Alright, so the next thing to do here is to set up our dependency injection, and for that I will create here a new package di, and inside that package I will create a new Kotlin class file and I'll name that app module. So here we will have our app module, in which we need to get a view model, and it will be home view model. For the get movie use case, we'll tell Koin to get that. We need a movie application class, and I'll create here a new Kotlin class file. I'll name that movie. It will be a class that extends the application class, and already on create. So here we need to start Koin, and set the modules. First of all, we need our app module that we have created, and append that to get shared module, the method that we wrote inside our shared module to return the list of all shared modules. And we need to add this class in our manifest file. So I'll come here and add name movie, and before we test up, we also need internet permission. Close the manifest, and the next thing is to call our this composable in our main activity. So I will get rid of this. I also remove the greeting and call movie app. This composable. All right, I've got here my device. Let's test this. Click on the run button. Let me bring my device here. Now this will take a little bit of time, so I'm going to skip the video until the build is done. Alright, so the build is done and the app is launching. There we go. So what happens here? We don't see any movie. Let me check this out. Alright, so normally this should work on your side. The problem with me was that I removed the API key before I set the project in my GitHub repository, so that was causing the actual problem. But on your side, this should normally work. I'm going to run the app again, and let's see. There we go. So what kind of problem is this again? All right, it seems that okay, this was loading, but actually we have a problem with the surface that should contain the play button. I'm going to fix that quickly. Let's remove this. And instead use the shape, a circle shape. Set the padding here, 12 dp. Let's restart the app. Alright, so there we go. As you can see, everything is working perfectly. We have our loading indicator. Alright, now we need, okay, the swipe refresh also is working. Yeah, as you can see. Now we need to implement the detail screen. I'm going to do that. Let's close this. Close my shared model here. Let me close all of these and create a new package here. I will name this detail. Inside this detail, I will create a new Kotlin class file and I'll name this DetailScreen. I'll create one more file, and that is DetailViewModel. I'll create a DetailViewModel. This will take two things actually. First of all, our get movie use case to get a single movie. Also take a movie ID that will pass as integer type. It will extend the view model. Let's quickly create the UI state. And for the UI state, I'll create here a data class. I'll call this DetailScreen state. This will have a var loading boolean equals to false. We have a movie and an error message. So I will declare that inside my view model var UI state by immutable state of DetailScreen state import one more time to import. For the movie, I will set this to be nullable, default to null, and in here I'll create a private function load movie. This will need a movie ID that we're going to pass. So from here I would like to launch a new coroutine to load a movie. First of all, we need to tell the UI that we are loading. UI state.copy loading equals true, and in here we'll get our UI state equals to make a try. I'll get the movie from get movie use case. The movie ID will be movie ID, and after that I will tell the UI loading false movie equal the movie. If there is an error, then we need to do UI state.copy loading false error message could not load the movie. Yeah, just like that, our detail view model is done. Now we're going to implement this DetailScreen. So in here, we'll need a composable called DetailScreen. This will need a modifier from Compose UI modifier. Let me take a little bit of room, make a little bit of room here. It will also need a UI state from detail UI state, and inside I need a box to wrap everything. I'll say content alignment dot center, and inside my box I need first of all to check if the UI state dot movie is not null. Then I need a column modifier will be modifier dot fill max size, and I'll set a background material theme dot colors dot background. And now inside this column I will need an async image. For the model I would say movie dot image URL. Content description will be null, hard on separate lines. I would need here a content scale like what we did in MovieListItem, and a modifier this modifier here, fill max width, and had a height of 320 dp. Below this async image I will need one more column for the title, the button, the release date, and the description. So this will have a modifier dot fill max width and weight of 1 and the padding 20 dp. All right, inside this column, first of all, need a text to represent the title. The style, I will use material theme.typography.h5 actually. Put on separate line. I will use a font weight on bold. All right, so I'll need a spacer modifier dot height between my title and my button. I need a dependency, ADP of space. So below the spacer, I will need a button. Normal button. Let me first of all remove that. And in here, I will need a modifier. Modifier.fill max width. Let me put this element into separate line because I'll change the color of my button to be button default dot button colors, and I will change the background to be red. I will also change the elevation. I'll set the elevation to 0 elevation. So I'll take button default elevation, default elevation, I'll set 0 dp. Now inside this row scope of my button, I will need an icon. Let's use the painter. We'll need the painter resource r dot drawable dot let's import this r, import that. Play button. For the content description, I'll set it to null. Let me change the tint to be black. Can we use black? Yeah, I prefer to use black color for the tint. I had a spacer here between, oops, between the icon and the start watching now text, and that will be a width of 4 dp. And I will need a text. Where is it at? Okay, and start watching now. All right, so I'm going to close the button row scope, and below that we will add a spacer between the button and the release date. Modifier dot height, and I will use 16 dp. Now we need a text released in movie plus release date. I think uppercase, yeah, this one. I will set the style to be material theme dot typography overline. I need one more spacer between the release date and the description. I'll set the modifier height for the P, and down movie dot movie the description. The style will be material theme dot typography body 2. So just like that, and I need to do one thing here. I'll come below. Let me close this. Now inside my box, I need to check if the UI state is loading. In that case, I would like to show a progress indicator. For that, I'll create a row with modifier called modifier.fillMaxSize. Vertical alignment, center vertically and horizontal arrangement.center. Inside this row, I need a circular progress indicator, and I also change the color to use red. So next, we'd like to come back in our movie app. This movie app composable. Inside this nav host, we need one more composable, and we use detail not route with args. This gives us a backstack entry from which we're going to retrieve the movie ID that we will pass when navigating. So we first of all need to get a movie ID. Our movie ID should be equal to 8.argument get string, and the key will be movie ID. Just return 0 because I don't know why like in Jetpack Compose, this nav backstack entry, even though I set the movie ID to be of type integer, it will still give you a string. I don't know why they haven't fixed this error until now. Yeah, we'll need our DetailViewModel. Type DetailViewModel. Here we'll need KoinViewModel. And parameters, we will set parameters of movie ID to integer. And then we need to call our DetailScreen. For the UI state, we'll use DetailViewModel.UIState. I think that's all. Before we test this, we need to come back inside our DetailViewModel. We need to call this load movie in our init. Load movie and pass in the movie ID. Also, come back here. For the navigate to detail, we will call nav controller navigate. We will need string interpolation here. Call detail dot route, not route with args, but this time route, and the argument is what we're going to append here, and that is it.id, the it from the movie here, as you can see. I think we can test now our application. I'm going to click run. Alright, as you can see, the app is running. Let's test. Let's click on one item. Oops, the app crashes actually. Okay, okay, I know the reason is that we haven't added the detail view model inside our dependency injection app module. So here we need to have view model. I'll need a param like so and call detail view model. So for the get movies use case, we'll call the get, and for the movie ID we'll pass params dot get method. All right, now let's test again. The app launcher, I'm going to try to navigate, and there we go. So as you can see, I need to fix this because this is not the right height that we were using in the demo app. Let me quickly go back inside my DetailScreen, and for my button, let's add a height of 60 or 46 dB, and let's make this white. Actually, I prefer to use white now, and let's run again. There we go. Let me click here. Oh, what have I done here? Let me also change this text quickly. Where am I here? Let's add like 8 of dp, and for the color I'll set it to white. Color white quickly, but you need to use here material theme color. Click on one item. There we go. And I think this is good and almost it. Okay, we can still load more items. Click on one item. There you go, the details. And as you can see, everything is working perfectly. Alright guys, now before the next part, let me just add one thing here that I forgot to add in part 1, and that is you need to come inside our shared module, expand the iOS main, and inside this util package we need to create one file here, and I will name this KoinHelper. This will help us start Koin, since we don't have a way to start Koin from Swift code. So in here I will create a function init Koin, and from here I will start Koin like so, and set the modules to be get shared modules, this one. Yeah, you just need to add this and rebuild the project, rebuild, and that's all you'll need to add. So guys, that's all for this Android app implementation. In the next part we're going to implement the iOS side. So to not miss any of the upcoming videos, don't forget to subscribe and also turn on the notification bell so that you will be notified of all upcoming videos. And for now, take care. I'll see you in the next video.